Hi, I'm Marty Demko. Feeling is increasingly perceived as valid as critical thinking. We are venerating lived experience, feeling offended, and succumbing to feeling heavy, rationality light bumper sticker rhetoric, whether it's from the right, for example, calling liberals libtards, or on the left, mass decarceration now. You can be a better thinker, and in turn, a better doer, if you're aware of the following 5 inhibitors of critical thinking. The first is confirmation bias. It's comforting to be agreed with. So we tend to more critically view ideas that don't comport with what we believe. If we are truly to celebrate ideological diversity, the marketplace of ideas, be aware of your confirmation bias. We all have them. And consider, like a judge, like a statesman, any assertion on its merits. The second inhibitor of critical thinking is cognitive dissonance. That refers to holding 2 or more conflicting beliefs or behaviors. For example, you may feel shame for claiming to be an environmentalist, but you live in a big house and drive a gas-guzzling SUV. Or you might rationalize abusing a substance because you eat a low-calorie diet. Or you may hide your cognitive dissonance by privately believing one thing about, for example, wokeism, but saying another so you can avoid censure. A more timeless example of this cognitive dissonance regarding kindness. Everyone professes to value kindness, yet many people behave in very unkind ways. I'm not just talking about criminals, but for example, people who mouth the right words on Sunday, but the rest of the week lie about someone that they're jealous of, or they withhold crucial truths, or they lie, for example, if they're trying to a salesman or whatever, they're withholding crucial truths from a customer or from their romantic partner, or they may lie under oath to get a better divorce settlement or to overturn a will. A clue to your experiencing cognitive dissonance is when you're feeling uncomfortable about something that you're thinking about doing or actually doing. If so, take a breath and ask yourself how the wise one within you would resolve the conflict. For example, let's say you're tempted to badmouth a coworker unfairly in an attempt to get a promotion that you're both vying for. Ask yourself whether you want to take an ethical approach to resolving that conflict. For example, upskilling yourself, working more diligently, looking for another place of employment where your prospects for promotion are better, or accepting that justice will more likely accrue if you just sit tight. Another form of inhibition of critical thinking is commitment bias. That refers to the act of doing a thing actually making you more likely to want to do more of it. For example, signing up for an initial session of psychoanalysis makes you more likely to sign on for a second session, even if your clear-eyed evaluation of the first session is, let's just say, far from sanguine. A fourth inhibitor of critical thinking is source bias. Bias is unavoidable. We all have biases. They're based on our family background, our culture, our education, our exposure to what aspects of the media, what parts of the media, and the zeitgeist. The zeitgeist, that reflects the collective effect of all of those aforementioned on a society. But the ethical person, in making a case for something, tries to push their biases aside in favor of a fair-minded presentation of the most worthy perspective or perspectives, even if it's not your own. Alas, too often we succumb to our biases. Of course, that's particularly dangerous when the person has a megaphone, teachers, professors, and the media. Do try to think less like an activist and more like a statesman. And the final inhibitor of critical thinking that I want to talk with you about today is falsifiability. There are many other inhibitors of critical thinking, but there's one that is particularly relevant to the people who read this. This is going to be an article in Psychology Today. So it's particularly relevant to readers of Psychology Today, and that's under-discussed. And that is unfalsifiability. That means making a claim that can't be proven false. That doesn't necessarily make the assertion incorrect, but it demands carefully assessing the proposition's reasonability. Let's take a psychology-related example. Something called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Some experts, for example, there was a multi-university team, I have the link but I don't recall it, they concluded that EMDR is pseudoscience, in part because the underlying theory is both unprovable and seems logically unlikely to be an effective method. That puts additional burden on the results of high-quality studies that would confirm or refute EMDR's efficacy. Alas, a meta-evaluation of such studies, and again, the links to that and the previously mentioned study will be in the Psychology Today article if you're so interested, or interested at all. So anyway, alas, a meta-analysis of such studies finds those studies to be of inadequate quality. So it really calls into question EMDR from the unfalsifiability perspective. Other examples of unfalsifiable assertions include astrology and conspiracy theories. Regarding conspiracy theories, assertions both by the left and the right about a, quote, deep state are unprovable because the assertion is that they're hidden. That requires us to consider that assertion valid or invalid mainly to the extent that there is quality empirical support. And that empirical support, as with astrology, is lacking. The takeaway? Colleges have long attempted to teach critical thinking with limited success, and I have a link to a review of the literature on that. And here's a quote from that. A fascinating review of the scientific research on how to teach critical thinking concludes that teaching generic critical thinking skills such as logical reasoning might be a big waste of time, end quote. So, far be it for me in this little talk or in the blog post that this will be presented in writing with, far be it for this blog post to make a serious dent in the problem. But it would seem that staying aware of those 5 potential biases, confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, commitment bias, source bias, and unfalsifiability, that's a doable, time-effective approach to improving your critical thinking. And in our ever busier and persuasion-oriented society, that seems to be worth at least a 5-minute video. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.